Picture this. You're on a crowded train, your toddler starts to lose it, and you feel it, that familiar wave of panic. Every eye in the carriage turning toward you. Now picture a mother across the aisle. Her toddler is doing the same thing. But she's not bribing, not whispering threats, not frantically reaching for her phone. She's just waiting, calm, still, like she knows something you don't. Here's the thing. She does. Japanese children are consistently ranked among the most emotionally regulated kids on the planet. Not because they're punished into obedience, not because their parents are stricter than yours, because of a parenting philosophy so simple, so powerful, that once you understand it, you will never see your child's behavior the same way again. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have 3 tools that Japanese parents have used for generations. And you can start using them tonight. I know what you might be thinking. Japanese culture is completely different. This won't work for me. And I understand that. But here's what's fascinating. The principles behind Japanese parenting aren't cultural secrets. They're backed by decades of developmental psychology. Researchers at Harvard, Stanford, and child development institutes worldwide have studied why Japanese children regulate so well. And the answer isn't strict rules. It isn't fear. It isn't punishment. It starts with one word, Shitsuke. In Japanese, this word is written with 2 characters, one meaning body, one meaning beauty. Literally, to attach beauty to the body. Not control, not compliance, beauty. Shitsuke is the art of raising a child who wants to behave, not because they're afraid of what happens if they don't, but because good behavior has become part of who they are. Think about that for a second. In most homes, we wait for the bad behavior, then we react. You're exhausted. Dinner is burning. Your child is screaming over something small, and you snap, or you bribe, or you hand over the iPad just to get 5 minutes of quiet. And it works. For a few minutes, then it happens again. This is where most parents get it wrong, not because you're failing, but because you're treating the symptom, not the cause. Japanese parents do something different. They don't wait for the fire, they prevent it. And the way they do that comes down to one question, one shift that changes everything. Instead of asking, "How do I stop this behavior?" they ask, "What skill is my child missing right now?" Read that again. Not what is wrong with my child. Not why won't they just listen. What do they not yet know how to do? Because here's the truth. Your child is not misbehaving to make your life difficult. They're misbehaving because they lack a skill. Emotional regulation, patience, the words to say what they feel. These aren't things children are born with, they have to be taught. And the moment you shift from punishing behavior you don't want to teaching the skill that's missing, everything changes. Now let's go back to that mother on the train. Why didn't she rush in? Why didn't she fix it? Because she was practicing something called Mimamoru. Mimamoru means to watch over while protecting. It's the belief that your child grows stronger when you resist the urge to intervene at every hard moment. And this is the part nobody sees. In most homes, when your child struggles, you step in. When they cry, you solve it. When they fail, you rescue them. And you do it out of love. Of course you do. But here's what's actually happening. Every time you rush in, you send your child a silent message. You can't handle this on your own. And every time you send that message, you make it a little bit harder for them to believe they can. Japanese mothers do something that feels almost uncomfortable to watch. They step back. They observe. They wait. Not coldly, not without care, but with a deep, quiet trust that their child has the capacity to work through hard moments. They let the discomfort sit, just long enough for the child to try. And when the child manages it, even partially, That moment becomes the foundation of something no praise can build. Real confidence. Not the kind that comes from being told "good job" every 5 minutes. The kind that comes from actually doing something hard. Developmental psychologists call this productive struggle, and it is one of the strongest predictors of emotional resilience in children. So the next time your child is frustrated, overwhelmed, on the edge of a meltdown, before you jump in, pause. Watch. Give them 10 seconds. You might be surprised at what they're capable of when you trust them enough to try. Here's where most people get Japanese parenting wrong. They assume that because Japanese children are so calm, so self-contained, the parenting must be cold, strict, distant. The opposite is true, and this is the part that changes everything. Japanese parenting is built on a concept called Amae. Amae loosely translates to the feeling of being able to depend on another person's love. In the earliest years of life, Japanese mothers are extraordinarily close to their children. Co-sleeping is common. Physical closeness is constant. The child is never made to feel alone in the world. And this isn't babying. This is the foundation. Because here's what neuroscience tells us. A child who feels deeply, securely attached develops a nervous system that is more capable of self-regulation. When your child knows, in their bones, that your love is not conditional, they don't need to act out to get your attention. They don't need to test your limits to feel secure. The emotional closeness in early childhood becomes the soil from which self-discipline naturally grows. Think about that. Not rules first, not structure first, warmth first. And then, gradually, as your child develops, independence is gently encouraged. Responsibility is added little by little, not because you've pulled away, but because they're ready. This is where most Western parenting gets the order backwards. We introduce structure before we've built the connection. We enforce rules before we've built the trust. And then we wonder why our children push back, why they resist, why nothing seems to stick. But here's the difference. When a child feels genuinely secure, when they know they are loved regardless of how they behave, discipline doesn't feel like a battle. It feels like guidance from someone they trust completely. Now, before we get to the last piece, have you ever noticed that Japanese children clean their own classrooms? Every single day. No janitors, no adults directing them. They just do it. That's not an accident. And it's not about cleanliness. It's about something much deeper. The third pillar of Japanese parenting is this. Behavior becomes character through repetition. In Japan, children as young as 4 are given small daily responsibilities. Setting the table, packing their own school bag, cleaning up after lunch. Not because the parent needs the help, but because these rituals, repeated every single day, do something extraordinary to how your child sees themselves. They start to believe they are capable. They start to believe they are responsible. They start to believe they are someone who contributes. And identity, once formed, drives behavior far more powerfully than any rule ever could. This is where most parenting struggles. You set rules, you enforce consequences, you reward good behavior. But you forget to build the identity. Here's the difference. Most parents say, "Clean your room because I said so." Japanese parents say, through daily ritual, through modeling, through quiet repetition, "This is who we are." And children rise to meet that identity every time. Shitsuke, Mimamoru, Amae. Prevention, trust, connection. These aren't Japanese secrets, they are human truths. Available to you, right now, starting tonight.